Hey folks, welcome back to the Practical Microservices stream. Uh, Glad to be back, and on a Monday no less, so maybe this is the beginning of great things to come. The meetup went great last week. It was a really nice invitation from the Utah Stack.js folks. Had a little bit of a spicy take on something. We were talking about idempotence, and in particular, do you like you sometimes see it in a web page where you click some button with some very serious operation like making a payment, and it's like, please don't click this button again or change your browser because you might get charged twice. And I made the assertion, and I stand by it, that if the only thing in your design that stands between users and harm is your prayer that they don't click a button twice, then you're not ready to design systems yet. And that's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you have some more learning to do. And that's always a great thing to be able to do, to learn and apply that knowledge. But yeah, don't release a system where that's it. So treat your users better than that is what I'm saying. So that was good. This week on Thursday, we have the Utah Microservices meetup, and I haven't yet put the event up for that. That'll come later, obviously, because it's not here right now. So by definition, it will come later. But that will be at LVT again, but they have a new office, and I'm getting that address. And of course, that will be in the meeting information. And then finally, I just finished reading Accelerate. Great book. Technically, I'm not quite done. I still have the acknowledgments to read. I read those. Fantastic book. It's by a subset of the authors of the DevOps Handbook, which I also love. And I heard I'll do a review of this at some point, but like one of the things that's been really on my mind lately, and it's really neat to see research backing it up, is that, you know, in software, there's a lot of talk about like you can either go fast or you can go well, like with high quality. And that's not at all what the research suggests. It is quality that enables you to go quickly. If you cut corners, you'll probably get some nice short-term results, but it comes back to bite you in the long run. So does that mean you should never just do things quick and dirty? No. Like if you're proving something out, some idea, you're doing some exploration. Sure. Also, the more that you practice good habits, the easier and faster those good habits become. But I wouldn't want to treat production code that way, except in the most dire circumstances. Kind of like, right, when you generally keep your dishes clean, but if the house is on fire, you don't stop to clean your dishes. So anyway, really like Accelerate. And they make that point in there and share the research that backs it up. And the benefits that come from it are just astounding. So anyway, get Accelerate. Read that. Good book. All right. Today's Monday. So we're going to get back into building the Eventide port of video tutorials. So let's switch to our coding thing. It's been a while, but I kept notes. This is one of the benefits of keeping a work log, right? So it looks like when we last worked on this, so 19 days, has it really been that long? It might have been. That's terrible. Let's see, we're ready to build. So if we go to the identity component real quick, let's do that. Is that font size how it normally is? I use this computer to stream, and I also do work on it, not like my day job, but you know, I use it for other coding things, and I don't like to run the font this large when I'm not streaming. Anyway, so I don't know, that looks decent. If it isn't, let me know. Say, hey, bump that font size up, and I'll do that. Anyway, if we go to our handler here, just trying to get my head back into this. Oh, look, I left myself a little breadcrumb as well. So we're currently sending this message by constructing the message manually. And what we would actually like to do is have something like what Eventide has in the account component example. So if we go to, wow, so many windows open. Clearly, I was using a larger monitor last time. Let's just quit everything here and open this. And if we go to the funds transfer component, to the events handler, when we handle an initiated, which no, I won't say that. It's not similar at all. But anyway, we're going to need to do a similar thing in our registered event handler. But notice that to send the message to the account component, it doesn't actually manually construct the message and do it. This withdraw here, where does that come from? It's right up here. That is something that comes from the account component itself. And so we want to make the analog to that in our, well, we wouldn't make it in the identity component, would we? We would make it in the send email component. So that is where we should be, isn't it? So let's go there. All right, we're in there. What Ruby version do we have? You know what? Oh, this will probably take too long. Hang on a sec, though. See, Ruby install I have on here. How do you get the list of them? Because Ruby is now in 3.2. Is there like list? -L. Okay, that didn't work. How about help? That didn't work. -- help. There we go. How do we find what ones are? I'm not going to like just pause and yak on the screen while this is installing, but I can set it going up in the background. And then once it's installed, we can switch over to it. Continuous integration does not just mean running tests on a server. Surely there's a way. Okay, Ruby's install dir, source dir, cleanup jobs, patch mirror. Is there not a way to get the list of them? Huh. Well, fine. Let's just go see what it is. Let's see. Latest Ruby version. How about that? 3, 2, 1. It's like a countdown. Ruby install 3.2.1. Neat. That'll just go in the background, and then we'll check that in a little bit, and then switch over to using it later. I don't think we have any particular artifacts in here that dictate that, but just let's keep current so that we don't fall behind on that kind of thing. So let's see. Send email. This is an unfortunate name collision if we're going to follow the same patterns that account component has. So if we go up to account component, in lib you have account component and account, and that's where the client name spacing happens. Right, but we're not going to do it as a separate gem, just to see how that feels. That's something you would need to do in a lower trust kind of a setup. So the component itself is packaged as a gem. We can just pull that in and use the stuff inside of it. But if we had reason to suspect that whoever is pulling that in, hey, Lord Crispy Chicken, how's it going? We're just talking through a decision we're making about packaging some code. Anyway, right. So if we were worried about someone importing the package and then reusing code that isn't meant to be reused, okay, then we could publish it as a separate gem, but we're the only ones doing this. So let's not be worried about that this time. So we don't need to worry about the potential namespace collision there. So nice. Almost no delay. Oh, in the, like from saying something to it showing up on stream, do you mean? Also, 1 second. The bottom bar, there we go. Now you can see the green things and see all the names of tabs because that's so terribly important. The chat. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I suppose sometimes it can get pretty bad, the delay in the chat. But good. Glad to hear that it's working pretty well. All right, so our goal is we have our identity component that manages users registering, and as part of that workflow we're supposed to send an email. And where we left off 19 days ago or so, see, you're trying to learn how to code. Any sites or something that could help you? Oh, that's a good question. how new to it are you? Like brand new? Have you written some programs in an existing language? I don't know how you would write a program in a language that doesn't exist. I guess what I mean is, have you already worked with a programming language, and which one was it? Two days ago. Okay, so pretty new. That's awesome. Well, welcome to the journey. It's a fun one. Um, trying to think what would be a good. What kind of programming interests you, I suppose, would be a good first question. I almost started answering it in the context of web development, which is a common place that people start now. But I mean, there's also like robotics and all that kind of stuff. So, like, what interests you in the programming world? Or game development. That's a big one, too. While you're thinking of that, I'll just keep. Oh, started off a few days ago. Did Roblox. That wasn't really good at that. Then I tried Python. Python's a good language to get started with. Trying to think what would be good resources. I do not consider myself a Python expert at all. I have written some code in Python, and it was like a couple years ago. But I don't know great starting places for it, but have you heard of Code Academy? That's a So the language that I'm doing the coding in is called Ruby. You may, I don't know if you started 2 days ago, you may have heard of a web framework called Ruby on Rails. Ruby is the programming language that Rails is built with. And so I like Ruby. I think it's also a great starting language. The wider industry may disagree with me at this point in time. It is often referred to as a dead language, which is silly because it's not even remotely dead. So I don't know. I think it's a great one to get started with. It's beginner friendly, and there are some good books if you wanted to go the Ruby route. Let's see, it's Prague. I should know. My goodness, Prague.com. There we go. The Pragmatic Bookshelf, I think, is a great place to get some books. In part, I wrote one for them. This would not be a good starting book, though, so I just wanted to mention that. But let's see, is it Learning to Program? I think they have one. Here we go. Learn to Program 3rd edition would be a good book for an introduction to programming in general, and it does so with the Ruby programming language. And I just noticed the author's name, Chris Pine. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm guessing it's not the same Chris Pine who played Captain Kirk in the new Star Trek movie. Maybe it is. I'm not going to say that it's impossible for an actor to also be a coder. My guess would be it's not the same person. Anyway, that's a good one. But also this Code Academy website, it's free and it has a lot of exercises to help you get started with languages. I'm pretty sure they have Python in there. Yeah, in fact, it's top of the list. And they don't have Ruby. That's so terrible. Python is still a great language to get started with. So I guess I would start there, would be my recommendation. But yeah, totally you're welcome to hang out here, obviously. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, feel free to ask. And I tend to look at the chat fairly regularly. Yeah, Code Academy is free. They do have a paid one as well, but you can get started with it without having to pay for it. I don't know what the different features are. So, oh, here you go. So it seems that there are some courses you don't get access to, but you do get access to community support. In my experience with these kinds of things, I've never signed up for Code Academy myself, but other, like, there's one, it's called a Cloud Guru, I think is their name, that I signed up for. They had active forums, and so if you had questions, people tend to answer them. But yeah, so yeah, that'd be my recommendation. Not knowing a better one, that's what I'd suggest. Anyway, all right, so yeah, I'm gonna head back to the project here. What was I saying? Right, so we have this bit that handles when a user registers and we want to send a welcome email to them. Send a welcome email. We're not actually sending emails in here. This overall project that we're on is the code in my book I wrote in JavaScript, and I'm converting it all to Ruby because I really like the tooling in Ruby for doing this kind of thing. So that's the reason behind that. So we are trying to make it so that these lines are simpler effectively. And we are doing that over here in this send email component. And we need to build this a class, as we call it, that lets us use the code from the send email component within the identity component. Gonna head back to Roblox. That's fair. I've never used Roblox before. I have only a vague idea of what it is, honestly. But it seems to be pretty, like, you can do a lot with it, is what it seems like. But anyway, sorry, now my curiosity is Roblox. Global platform that brings people together through play. Well, I'm not going to sign up for this right now. Anyway, all right, cool. All right, let's get back to the project at hand here. So let's see, we need these classes so we can send those messages. And so we would pattern the test for it off of what the account component has in Eventide. So if we were to go to commands, and let's just look through what we have here. So these tests then, right, they don't have to actually write to the database because they have a write dependency just like the handlers do. Okay, great. I'm going to just copy this test and then we can edit it for our purposes. Oh, look, the Ruby installation finished. Squirrel moment. Let's see here. So it'd be Shruby use 3.2.1. Oh, you don't have to say use. You just say Shruby. Wait, that does... Oh, probably have to open a new terminal window, don't I? So let's close out of you. That's what it is. Okay. All right. New version of Ruby. Great. I'm going to switch off of my screen real quick because I need to make an edit in a file and I don't remember exactly what's in there. That would have been safe, but it's not the right file. Bash RC. That's not the one either. It's a bash profile. All right, let me look at this real quick. All right, that looks perfectly safe. All right, so, oh, wait, it already says Shruby 3. So, if that is the case, then when I open a new one, does it just go straight to, it does? Fantastic. Okay. The Ruby language updated, and I just want to make sure we're always on the latest things here. So let's go to the identity component and services identity component, and this won't be. Oh, it is on the latest. Oh, right, because we just opened it. Okay, so let's see. We're going to reinstall the gems here. And that will have us using the new version. And then we'll do the same thing over here in the send email component. Right. Now it should be the correct one. Okay, good. Let's see. Software, practical microservices, and email component posture equals development install gems. Hey, SB Ditto. Good to see you. For those of you unfamiliar with Ruby and or programming in general, in the Ruby language, like most languages have a way to take code and package it up so that it can be used by other people in different programs or whatever. And in Ruby, those are called gems because Rubies are gems. And so anyway, let's see, such software, practical microservices, and email component. And this should be, okay, good. We're in the correct version. Good stuff. All right, so let's see here. I want to open the test here. We'll be in the automated tests, and this will be in a commands folder. And the particular command that we're testing will be called send. And this should result in a send command message being written. So that gives us that long chain there. Now what I'd like to do is copy into here the contents of account component test automated commands deposit. There we go. All right. And then we'll go through. Awesome. Yeah, give Ruby a try. There's got to be some decent free resources for that. Maybe, does Khan Academy do any Ruby? Academy.org. Let's see here. Ruby. Geometric computer programming. Okay, that's what we're interested. That's all JavaScript though. Why does... I wonder why Ruby even showed up there. That's strange. Courses. Wow, there's so many. This is great. Computer programming. No, it looks like it's all just JavaScript based. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Oh man, where would Ruby cones? Learn Ruby with the edge case Ruby cones. Yeah, okay. So this is a way to learn Ruby. Introduction, the structure. Where do you get to the actual... The path to enlightenment. Red, green, refactor. Where are the actual cones? It's a Git repo. Where is the reference to said repo? Oh, download the cones. I bet it's right here. Nope, that downloaded a zip file. I don't want to open that zip file right now. Let's see. Ruby cones GitHub. Here they all are. Okay, so that's an option too. Lord Crispy Chicken. This website, rubycones.com, says it's about learning the language. My question is, do the code files have stuff to guide you through it, or are you just kind of figuring it out? Like, it's nice to have a good walkthrough of what the things in the language mean rather than just here's a bunch of files. You fix things and it moves on to the next thing, so you learn by doing. If you have programming experience, it is nice. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the right thing for someone who hypothetically started 2 days ago. How did people learn Ruby these days? I learned it back in 2007. So, um, wait, is this Code Academy? And now they're saying they do have Ruby? Okay, apparently I didn't see it on this list here, which doesn't mean they don't have it. Maybe I should have tried this search bar. Haha, look at that. Okay, yeah, so Code Academy also has downloaded Ruby and open the folder, just a bunch of folders. Yeah, codes might not be best for brand new programmers. So let's see. If you try to post a link to where you downloaded the Ruby, Lord Crispy Chicken, my overly zealous Nightbot installation will delete your link and possibly every other thing you said in the chat. So I'm not going to say where did you download it, but if there's some way you could communicate where you downloaded it from without posting a URL to something, that would help a bunch. The other thing is, which platform are you on? Windows, Mac, Linux, one of those, because that would help. I did install Ruby on a Windows machine one time in like 2008. And I don't know if the experience with Ruby on Windows has improved since then. It was traditionally difficult to get it going on Windows. But on Mac or Linux, rubylang.org. Okay, yeah, that's a great place. That's the official one. So let's see, rubylang.org. Guessing you click this big old red button right here. And so then it would take you to one of these. I wonder if this has, oh, here we go. Okay, yeah, what kind of a machine are you on? Mac, Windows, or Linux? That's the latest version, 321 or 321, 321. But to help debug here, I guess if you downloaded a folder, you probably didn't get the Ruby install. Right? Okay, you're on Windows. All right. Ooh. Well, let me click this. I won't be able to run it, but I can download it and look at what it is. This screen that I have up, did you end up on this screen as well? And if so, did you download, which of these links did you click to download the version? Go back to the home page. Okay, home page. Download Ruby, then downloaded it from this page. Maybe it was this one. Okay. Was it this link right here? That you... SB Ditto says, I know some people on Windows use the Windows subsystem for Linux and then install Ruby via Linux. Not sure if that is something you'd be comfortable doing or not. And Lord Crispy Chicken, you're saying, yeah, this is where you downloaded it from. So let me click that link. Okay, yeah, so that gives a tar archive, as it's called. That's also gzipped. So I believe this is the source code for Ruby itself. Yeah, if you're just starting out, that's probably not the easiest way to get going. because I think that from within this you could build Ruby, but that would require quite a bit of setup on your machine to get the necessary tool in place. Is there no like make file in here, or is that in a different common MK? Yeah, okay. I am experienced in using the Ruby language, and I'm not sure how I would turn the contents of this folder into a functioning thing. So I would recommend not pursuing that route. What SB Ditto put in the chat about the Windows subsystem for Linux, would it be the Linux subsystem for what? No, it's WSL. Does that phrase mean anything to you? Windows subsystem, Windows subsystem for Linux, or is that gobbledygook? I wonder, does this have, or does it dive straight into? Yeah, it looks like the Codecademy courses assume that you already have Ruby installed on your machine. Yeah, there is. On the website here, this little bit here that says on Windows machines, you can use Ruby installer. To be clear, what SB Ditto said about the Windows subsystem for Linux, I think would be the best way to install Linux on a Windows machine. But given that you're new to programming, you may not know how to set that up, and I don't know how to set it up either. So I wouldn't be helpful for that. But otherwise, if you just click on this Ruby installer and click download here, it looks like it gives you just a regular Windows installation program. And then you could just run that installer, and then you would have access to Ruby on your machine. I think, I don't know. It's been a very long time, 15 years since I've installed Ruby on a Windows machine. And so I would have to do that separately. I suppose I could on a machine that will not show on the stream. I have to like reach my hand over my laptop screen to get to this keyboard. Let's get the one with the dev kit. Why not? I don't fully understand the significance of that. And let me slide this over so I can still see the chat here. All right, so I downloaded this installer. I don't mind if I put, okay, select install mode. Can be installed for you or for all users. I'll just install it for me. How about, because I am all users on this machine. Ruby executables to your path. Great, sure. Uh-oh, that looks like it's going to take a while. Probably like a minute. Okay, yeah, so I'm just running this Ruby installer on the machine that actually runs my stream. And it seemed pretty straightforward. It's now in the installing step. That'll complete at some point. In the meantime, let's see if we can advance on the port here. So require relative, we're going up 2 levels. One takes us to command, one to automated, which is where the automated init file is. That's correct. Context commands, but our secondary context here, or subcontext you could say, is this. Oh, no. You say, sorry, I feel like I'm wasting your time. You know, I am here to just like code and talk with people about stuff. And so I don't mind, like, especially you're new to programming, new to Ruby as well. I don't consider it a waste of time. So that's like when I work with people, we'll do group work a lot. And I don't think it's a waste of time to make sure everybody's up to speed on it. So no need to feel bad at all. So let's see. That installer finished, and this is fun. Just imagine the window that I'm looking at right now. But it's saying it finished, run, RIDK install the setup, MSys2, and development tool chain. It's required to install gems with the extensions. Okay, sure. Ooh, that's some cool ASCII art. Let's do number 3. Oh, right on. That's fine. Programming's a great thing to get started at young. This is actually interesting to me. I've never done Ruby on, well, sorry, it's been 15 years. So about when you were born is the last time I put Ruby onto a Windows machine. That succeeded. So let's enable the tool chain. I picked 3 on both of those. Neat. Now activating is a separate step. Okay, 3 again. Wait, you just keep asking me the same thing. What if I just press enter? Okay, neat. So what did that give me? The installer finished. Ruby gems documentation server. Start command prompt with Ruby. Neat. So if I do IRB. Oh, neat. Okay, yeah. All right. So I just ran that installer. When it completes, it's going to ask you if you want to run this other thing. I ran that other thing and then pressed the 3 option. And then after doing that, now if I hit the Windows key and type Ruby, it gives me an option, start command prompt with Ruby, which opens a terminal window. And then from there, I can run Ruby programs. So you would need a way to edit text. Worst case scenario, and believe it or not, this is what I learned Ruby on at first. You can use Notepad to write Ruby files. Just make sure to save them with a .rb extension. Probably a slightly better option for editing stuff on, I mean, there's Visual Studio Code. Man, there's so many things. I don't know if you've come across Visual Studio Code before, and like I feel terrible recommending Visual Studio Code, but as a way to get started, this is a code editor, or it's a text editor that you can use to write code. It's used by a lot of professional programmers. I think in the web world, it may be the most widely used one, so there would be a lot of support, but it is a Microsoft thing, so just keep that in mind. Another option that you could have is Notepad++. This you can use to, anything that you can use to edit text. Microsoft Word wouldn't work because it doesn't save the files as just plain text. It's a word processor, but anyway, so with those tools, I bet that you would be able to run a Ruby program. So I think that is about as useful as I can be in that regard. But anyway, yeah, feel free to ask questions and good luck with the learning for sure. I'm going to come back to the program we're working on here. And all right, so we're going to send an email. I believe the emails need an ID. Let me check the messages here, our definitions and our command. Yep, we get an email ID. And I'm going to comment out all of this other stuff. Commenting something out just means I can pretend it's not there for a little bit. Having trouble getting it working. That's fine. Yeah, it can be tough if you don't to install the new tooling. Like, honest to goodness, once you've learned your first programming language, especially if you go on to work as a programmer, you'll learn other programming languages, and that's fine. But like the hard part to me of learning a new language is learning the associated tooling, getting the language installed and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, so I would check out Codecademy. And if you've been dabbling in Python, that's a great place to get started. And SB Ditto, I just noticed your comment. That's what community and groups are for, helping each other. Absolutely. Yeah, I've benefited a lot from people asking or answering questions that I've had. So it is the right thing to do. So, all right. So we need an ID for the emails themselves. I'm pretty sure that we have a control for that already. Yeah, that looks right. So we can say email ID equals controls ID dot example. Look at that, the same as the deposit ID one. That's fine. I'm going to run this test to make sure I haven't done something incorrectly thus far. I've heard people make malware on Visual Studio Code. You can make malware on anything if you can write code. Um, if you to be safe with it, I think I have it on here. Yeah, I don't use this much. I wonder what will open. Header. I don't even know what this is. Oh, that's oh, that was me monkeying about with my website. All right. So I edited a Stardew Valley save file to give my kids some extra gold or something. So that's what that's all about. Anyway, if you want to use Visual Studio Code and keep yourself safe from malware, the only real way that I can think of, two ways you could get it introduced is to download source code from some place that you don't trust. And then the other is with the extensions that you can get. These are effectively just code that other people wrote that you put onto your computer and then start running it. So you could very easily, by getting an unsafe extension, expose your computer to harm. And so how would you be safe around that? A package, these packages here, they say who made them. And this little blue star means this is actually who they say they are. Packages from Microsoft are probably not going to be malware. That would really hurt Microsoft's image if they published malware. I don't know of other organizations, but if you were to download Visual Studio Code and not put any extensions in it, then it's probably not going to be something that gives you a bunch of malware. So, yeah, I would just say that. All right, so Ruby test automated commands send. That means we did not have any errors. We also didn't do anything useful with the test so far, but hey, it's a starting place. What I don't remember, see, we're in the send email component. We don't have any controls. Surprised I use Mac still. Macs are really nice for software development. Because why? The terminal window, honestly, is the thing. This little program that's on my screen here is kind of like the command prompt app on a Windows machine, but the underpinnings of what makes Macs run, the operating system, it's based on something called OpenBSD, which is similar in spirit to Linux. And I find those environments wonderful for software development. The gaming aspect of a Mac is not quite up to par with Windows at this point, in my opinion. But for programming work, it's a lovely platform to develop on. Windows is a fine one to develop on too, depending on what language you're doing. Like if it's anything that runs in, oh gosh, so this will be nice and confusing for you. There's Visual Studio Code, the little editor that I just had up on the screen. Microsoft also has another editor called Visual Studio. They have hardly anything in common. They're completely different products. And Microsoft made a language called C#, and it is like when you're using it with Visual Studio, like it's a really nice experience. If you're ever into game development, there is this thing called Unity 3D. It's a pretty cool system, and it uses C# as the programming language. I much prefer working with Unity on a Windows machine than I do on a Mac. So it depends on the kind of work you're doing. SB Ditto, you say that you agree if you use WSFL, which is that Windows subsystem for Linux, then Windows can be nice, but otherwise OS 10 is really nice for programming, especially web projects. Yeah. I like Unity more on Windows. I like web stuff more on Mac. At the end of the day, though, I don't know, some people get real like if you don't use, I don't know, there's the guy who made Ruby on Rails once said, like back in the day, that they would never hire someone who didn't use a Mac because they don't want to hire someone who's not using the best tools for the job. And I think it is quite all right to have an opinion on what I like using more. I wouldn't go so far as to say that this is the best tool for the job. I would go so far as to say this is the best tool for the job that I have encountered. This is what I prefer using. But I'd never just like do a blanket statement like you're not a good programmer unless you use a Mac. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Because good programmers existed before Macs did. Therefore, it isn't necessary to be. You don't have to have a Mac to be a good programmer, is what I'm saying. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. All right, so we've got an email ID, and I don't think we have... Oh, no, wait. There's an email address control. Transmission, what's that? Send email component transmission build. What? It's been a while since we did this. Oh, right. Right. Okay. Yeah, so this was because we needed to have... You'll find this when you get into programming. When you have a name for something like this line here, class transmission is declaring the existence of something, a class, which it's like a way to organize code. And I gave it the name transmission here. There can only be one thing named transmission. So originally I wanted this to be email, but I wanted that name for something else, I think. Or also, though, like this class doesn't represent an email. It represents the sending of an email, which is a transmission. Oh boy, you just hit the what doing, and that is out of date. Let me change that. Sorry. Yeah, that is something we were doing a while ago. Let's see here. We are building the send email component client. All right, I just updated the what doing. So Nightbot's information was slightly out of date there. All right. Anyway, okay, so transmission is that. So what do we have in this control? Let me close that one. And so we have the ID and the sent time. That's all we really need for the transmission, though. So no, this isn't the right control for it. We need one to represent the various fields of the emails here so that we can use it over on this side. So let's see here. How are we doing on time? 8 minutes. That's fine. Let's see. Maybe I have controls over in this. Look at that. Look at that. Haha. I knew I had this in here already. I didn't know it. I suspected. All right, that's great. So controls, what are they? When you are writing software and you need to operate on some data, this control methodology, to sound pretentious, is a way to have examples of the kind of data that your program uses. And so as the developer of something, I also provide those examples of what the something looks like. I don't make someone else do that or put that off into test. And so in the send email folder here, which is the code that sends the emails, I put that in quotes because we don't actually send anything. We just write something out to the console, some text. It's like, oh, look, I'm sending an email. This has an example of what the various fields of an email should look like. So where am I pulling this all from? So we've got a subject control. That is what, nice. This is an example of what the subject line of an email could look like. Then in the body, we have these. Yeah. Okay, it's all coming back to me now. And then we have a to and a from email address. Great. Okay, nice. I'm happy about all this. The funny thing is, though, we don't actually need any of it yet, and I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's skip those lines. And we are trying to get a send here, and that would come from send.new. So now I'm going to run this test, but this thingy right here, this commands send, I haven't defined that yet. So the test is going to bark at me and say, hey, it's going to be a name error. And you can see here it says name error, uninitialized constant commands. So I told it to use something, but I never told it what that thing is and where to find it. So that's our first step. And this flow I go on here is called test-driven development. And the idea is I'm using tests to discover the design of the thing that I'm doing, rather than trying to write all of the code from scratch just from my brain and then hoping it works, and then maybe writing some tests after the fact to make sure it works the way that I think it does. What I do is I start with the test. I start with the thing that would use my code and then get a failing test, which is what I have right here. This test did not pass. So then I'm going to go write enough code to make that test pass. And the advantages that that gives are, one, just from like a practical thing, I won't have untested code. If I only write enough code to make a test pass, then by definition, all of my code has been tested. But test-driven development isn't really about testing. We're using tests to drive the development, but it helps me design the code differently because I now have something using the code. And if I can test the code, then I could probably use it as well. So just a little thing to file away in your head for later. But anyway, that's the process I'm going on here. Why do I write the test, get it failing, and then go write code? So to get this to pass, I need this commands send thing to exist. By convention, I'm going to have my folders here match the name. So like there, you see commands, then : send. Well, I'm going to make a commands folder, and within there, I'm going to put a send file. Did I do that? Uh-oh, it didn't like that. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. And there's something buggy about my editor where it just keeps going higher and you can't see anything. Where did you go? Did I just lose it? Did it not make it? Libsend email component commands. Okay, yeah, that's there. Why do I not see it? Oh, there. That's strange. Oh, I made it as a directory. That was silly. Try this again, shall we? Commands send.r. Oh, wait. Maybe it's because you can't. No, you should be able to. There we go. All right, cool. That file exists. So let's open that file. And I need it to, the module structure here to match. So we're in the send email component. Within there, we're in module commands, which is what that little bit is right there. And then within that, we're going to do a class called send. That's not quite enough for it to show up because the program doesn't know to even look at that file. So from there, I can, let's put it right here, send email component commands send. That should be enough for the test to pass now. There we go, test pass, that's great. Also, I'm at time. I have a day job I need to get back to. And I think I have a meeting right at 1. Yeah, so I'm going to have to call it here. Hey, Lord Crispy Chicken, thanks for stopping by. Love the questions. Keep at it. Oh, hey, SB Ditto, you said something too. I would also add the TDD is there to make sure your design is helpful for someone who would consume the code you're making. That's why you write the consumer first to make sure that its ergonomics and design are appropriate. Absolutely. Yeah. It's really hard to know if something is good until you try to use it. And so just like SB Ditto says, by writing a test, I've written something that's using my code. So a huge fan of the approach. And Lord Crispy Chicken, you said you're downloading Visual Studio Code. What additional tasks should I mark off? Oh, if you're going to pursue Python, I think Codecademy would be a great place to get started with that. So I'd say, I mean, being 15, probably talk to your parents about getting a Codecademy account. But I think that would be a great place to get started. And just, it really helps to, I think, to have a goal in mind of something that you want to write. See ya, SB Ditto. So like a project in mind that motivates you. And then you can learn the programming language in the context of this project that has some meaning to you. I think that would help you stay focused with that. But yeah, feel free to drop by and ask questions if you want. But with that, I need to go and get back to my job. Thanks for coming today, everybody. Have a good one. And as always, happy coding.